Hey guys and girls, thanks for joining in. Now, straight off the bat, running sucks. If you're not a runner, running just sucks. But as a PT, running is a great tool, often overused. And I'm going to talk about today is how I watched every other trainer use running to build my business. Thanks for joining us. If you haven't done yet, hit like, hit subscribe. And if you've got questions, please always throw them in the comments. And don't forget, you can always reach out if you need to ask any questions later on as well. Today, we're looking at running and how you can and can't use it in your business, or how maybe probably better off saying how you should and shouldn't use it in your business. Once again, the key to all of this is going to be knowing your clients and who you're working with. Back when I first started, I worked in big box gyms, as most of you know, and the standard arsenal with a boot camp was lunges, running, and burpees. And that's great when you're 20. But for those of you who aren't 20, you know that when you're not 20 and you hurt yourself, you can't just have a sleep and sleep it off. You wake up sore the next day and the next day and the next day and the next month. I have a classic rule: if you're not 20, not 20. Basically means if you don't run, don't run. If you don't jump, stay on the ground. If it hurts, just don't do it. And when we talk about running, well, let's look at the typical client that's doing running. Now, straight off the bat, if you're a runner and you like running and you're training for marathons and triathlons and actual running events, this is not for you. And if you're a trainer that works with those sort of clients, this is not for those clients. What we're talking about here is the 80% of clients who don't necessarily want to run, but want to lose some weight or want to get fitter. And so when I used to interview my clients, I'd always ask them a couple of questions. They'd come in and start off, "Oh, Ben, I want to lose weight or I want to get fit," which was the typical response. And for most people, that's normally where you'll start with goal setting. You ask them what they want to achieve, and they want to either lose weight or get fitter. And the other one is get stronger. But for lose weight and get fitter, I asked them, "Well, what have you already tried so far?" And they said, "Oh, I've been for walks and I've tried to do some running, but I just really struggle and get motivated." That makes a lot of sense. Tell me this: when you're running, do you actually enjoy it? And they're like, "Oh, yeah, look, it's okay to get out of the house and I like the peace and quiet." It's like, no, but do you actually enjoy the running element? You know, if you got out of the house and just sat at the park, would you enjoy that just as much? And I thought, "Oh yeah, that'd be way better." I said, "Well, what's the bit you don't like about the running?" And they go, "Well, I don't like the running bit. It hurts. Hurts my back, hurts my knees. I'm not a very good runner." I said, "Okay, so what's the goal again?" It's like, "Oh, I want to get fit." "Okay, so is running the only way to get fit?" And they're like, "Oh no, I guess there's other ways. So why do you keep running?" So, I mean, I've had this conversation hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times with clients. And as a default, we found that most clients, when they wanted to lose weight or get fitter, would just do the thing that they felt they needed to do. And you typically have two defaults in most people. It's either go to the gym or join a gym, and they feel that joining a gym itself will be enough to make them lose weight. "I guess I'll just join the gym and do some things at the gym and the weight will just come off, or I'll just get fit." We know that you have to do some work, but the client hasn't really thought past joining the gym. They assume that at that point, someone will tell them what to do and it will all just work. Or they'll start running. "I'm going to run every day until I lose the weight," and go on a diet, which typically means eat salad and cut out all the bad foods. And they kind of do that for a while, but it's not very sustainable. A good example is having a client who was about 140 kilos, and she's come in and gone, "Oh, look, I really want to lose weight. I'm really struggling to get motivated." And we sat down and had a bit of talk about it, and there were some really, really good solid reasons behind why she wanted to lose weight. But I said, "Okay, well, what have you been doing so far?" She goes, "Oh, I've just been running lately because I found that's the only thing that works." "Okay, are you currently doing it?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm still currently running most days." "Is it working?" She's like, "Oh, I think so." So, "What do you mean think so?" She goes, "Well, I don't really weigh myself." I'm like, "So how do you know it's working?" It's like, "Oh, I just feel like I'm losing weight." I was like, "Okay, that's fair enough. Like, if your clothes feel looser and stuff like that, it's good." So, I mean, why do you keep running? She goes, "Oh, I figure that's just a good way to lose weight." So, "Okay, what about walking?" She's like, "Oh, yeah, well, I end up walking most of my runs." So you're going for a little bit of a run and then a bit of a walk. So let me ask you this. So have you done anything different in the past? And she's like, "Oh, yeah, I used to do a lot of, I tried doing like boot camps. I went to the gym and stuff like that, but I found I just didn't really like it. I couldn't keep up. And after a bit more of an in-depth talk, it really came out that being a bit older than all the other clients and less fit and a bit bigger than all the other clients because they'd been doing it for longer, she felt that, she was a bit out of place because she couldn't keep up. And end of the day, when I broke it right down, part of the reason she couldn't keep up because she couldn't run as fast as everyone else and couldn't run with them. And the trainer was doing a lot of running. Now, this lady was in her 40s, and I said, "Cool, just out of curiosity, how old was the trainer?" She goes, "Oh, young 20s. And okay, so did you have a chat to the trainer about sort of options? And yeah, the trainer kept telling me they would give me some options and they kept giving me alternatives, but I felt bad doing them. And so I never did them. And I just kind of keep pushing through them. And then they would do their best to encourage me. They'd keep pushing me through it. But at the end of the day, it just got really hard because everything started to hurt. Cool. So now we're getting on something. So and tell me, what did you like about this program? And she's like, "Oh, well, the people were really nice." And that was when it all boiled down. The only thing she really liked about the program was the people. Why'd you stop? She goes, "Oh, I couldn't do it anymore. I think it was too sore. Okay, so doing a lot of running, a lot of lunging, a lot of jumping, a lot of plyometrics, 140 kilos, is well and truly 40, 50 kilos over where she should be. And then went from that high impact and tried to go into running, which she already knew would hurt. And so the client felt that, well, if I can't do this boot camp, I'll just keep doing the running element. I'll just keep going. And what I broke it down for her. I said, well, okay, have you always been the same size as you are now? She's like, oh, no, I used to be a lot smaller than this. And I said, okay, why do you think running was going to work? She said, oh, that's how I lost weight when I first lost weight. So when did you lose weight? And it turns out when she'd lost her weight the first time, she was in her 20s, and she was only losing 10 kilos. Not 100. She wasn't at 140 then. She was like 70 kilos and lost 10 kilos. It was a lot less of a dramatic drop. And I said, okay, well, what's hurting at the moment? She goes, oh, my lower back's hurting, my knees are hurting. But I figure if I just keep running and pushing through it, I'll get through it. It's like, okay, how long have you been pushing through it for now? And she's a few months now. And I was like, okay, was it getting better? She's like, oh, no, it really just hurts the same. It's like, okay, well, how much have you lost in the last month? She goes, oh, I've kind of, my pants feel a bit looser. Okay, have you gone down a dress size? Like, oh, no. And we talked a bit more about nutrition, and there was definitely some room to move in the nutrition there. But the long and short of it is that this client had been trying a lot of things for a lot of months. And effectively, the issue here wasn't that she wasn't able to lose weight or that running wasn't working. It's just that she just kept trying the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And the facts here is you've got to look at the mechanics of this sort of situation. Like, this client's 140 kilos. They used to be in their 60s and 70s. And so they're getting to that double their weight. So the knees and the back are comfortable carrying 60 or 70 kilos. Now they're carrying double. And to start, it's the equivalent of you throwing on a weight vest of your entire body weight and then trying to run and jump and do everything. You're going to hurt your back really, really fast. And so carrying all that extra weight, she was just hammering the knees and hammering the back every single time she did something. And all that plyometric work just wasn't working. And I said, okay, well, let's just strip everything back for a second and said, okay, if I could help you sort of lose the weight without any running and any jumping and any pain, would you still be okay with that? If you could never run again, but you got fit, would you be happy? She's like, oh yeah, I don't care about the running. I hate running. I said, cool. So it turns out all this time she told me she likes running, and she didn't like running. She hated the running. She just liked the idea that the running might work. And it took a little while to break that down for her. I said, okay, well, so I sort of explained the biomechanics of the body and how it works. And we talked about that loading on the knees. And I like to explain the knees to most of my clients as like a bit of a car tire. The cartilage in there is going to wear out no matter what you do. So just like your car tires, if you do burnouts all the time, it's going to wear out real fast. If you don't do anything bad, you do all the right things, your tires are still going to wear out, just like your knees. They're still going to wear out at a different rate, and everyone's a bit different. But if you're carrying a lot of extra load and you're doing a lot of extra plyometric stuff, you're wearing out your knees a lot faster. You're getting a lot more painful. So what if we just cut back everything and start working on some smarter ways to lose the weight? And we sort of went through the principles. As a beginner, the basics of weight loss is going to be calories in versus calories out. Yeah, there's a lot more to it later on, but initially, it's really just about doing more than you're eating less. And if you can change that, at the moment she's eating more than she's doing, if we can get a little more doing and a little less eating, then we can get a much better balance on that. And we can start to see the weight loss. And so when we broke all that down, she was like, oh, okay. So I said, like, if you just did a little more exercise, so maybe we did some strength-based circuits sort of training with no jumping or running. And whenever someone does running, you just do walking instead. She said, oh yeah, I could do that. That'd be fine. And we looked at the eating and said, okay, maybe rather than going on a super strict diet, we can just go on a little better diet and improve just a little bit. She said, oh yeah, I could definitely do that. And so when we broke all that down, essentially the situation was when we walked away from that conversation, she was feeling much more empowered to do something, because all of a sudden we'd removed all of those difficult obstacles that were in front of her and planted a really, really simple path. And most importantly, we'd identified that she didn't actually enjoy running, and it was definitely not the best way to lose weight. In fact, I would go so far as to say that running is the least efficient way to lose weight. If you're a good runner and you like running, then great, you're going to put a lot into it. But just like anything else, if you hate something, you're not going to put a lot of effort into it. And if you only put a little bit of effort into something, it's silly to think you're going to get a lot of result back out of it. So if you hate running, you'll put little into it. If you put little into it, you get very little back out. So with our clients, I mean, we look at this same principle. Intensity is where it's at for weight loss. So if I want to get someone fitter, I've got to increase their heart rate. If I want someone to burn more calories, I've got to increase their heart rate. Now, that's relative to that person. If I'm increasing the heart rate of a 70-year-old, I don't have to lift it very high to create intensity. If I'm lifting the heart rate of a 20-year-old, I've probably got to lift it a bit higher. So you look at the client there. If I'm lifting the heart rate of a 40-year-old who's carrying a lot of extra weight, it's not going to take a lot of effort, and they're not going to be able to maintain it for very long. So I only lift it a little bit for a prolonged period of time, it's probably not going to be smart to do peaked training all the time with these guys. So we sort of just break it down and go, okay, well, if you need to do cardio, then we want to get your heart rate up. But we want to do that in the least impacty way possible. If you're carrying a lot of weight, running and jumping is going to be a lot of impact on the joints. Every time you run, it's 12 times your body weight through your knees. You don't really need that if you're 140 kilos. So we look at things like if you've got a ski erg, they're great. If you've got any rapid movement, it gets the heart rate up. It doesn't really matter if it's running or jumping or even just some air punching, shadow boxing. Boxing's a great way. If you've got a bike, a rower, all these things are great options. Even just fast walking for some clients is going to be good. If the heart rate's up, it's going to be beneficial. So that's typically where we start with our clients. We sort of want to get them comfortable first, but we bring it right back. Think of it this way as a beginner. Like if you're just getting back into things and everyone talks about that muscle DOMS, that muscle pain, and if you're trying to get your client to create change, you want to keep their motivation up. Now, there's nothing more demotivating than being flogged for an inch of your life at the gym and not being able to walk out the next day. Worse yet, getting up, not being able to walk, knowing that you got to go back again that afternoon. So typically when we bring our clients in, we like to start them a little bit slower, especially beginners. First 2 or 3 weeks, let's just get into the swing of things. We normally tell them by about week 4 or 5, you've gotten to the rhythm of things. At that point, you can push a bit harder. Up until that point, let's start really simple. You're not going to get fit in the first month anyway, so let's just use that first month to find your feet. At about week 5 or 6, we can start to push a bit harder, and that's when we typically see a lot more results from our clients. But because they've spent that little bit of time getting accustomed to exercise and letting their bodies slowly adapt to it, they get far less pain and far better results. And look, at the end of the day, look, if you're telling your client to push through the pain all the time, that's cool. But are you running a business or running a boot camp? If you're running a boot camp for 12 weeks and that's all you need to worry about, then you probably don't care too much. But if you're running a business that wants to go for a long time, you're trying to get it going for 12 years, then you want your clients to stay for a lot longer. You want your client for 40 weeks, not 40 days. If you can get them for, I've got clients that have come for 9 or 10 years. And the key with those guys is, I always tell people, clients they'll come for the results, but they'll stay for the experience. They'll stay for how they feel. And if they feel motivated and empowered and feel great, then they're going to stick around for a long, long time. And so that's all about making them feel like they can actually do it and they can actually achieve it. If you flog them so they can't walk, they're not going to want to come the next day. So slow and steady, focus on that long goal and that long game, and you're going to get a lot better results out of these clients, especially with the cardio side of things, especially with people that are struggling with this sort of stuff. So that's why right off the bat, running is, I find it just creates a lot of pain in the knees, a lot of pressure on the lower back. And there's far better ways to actually do cardio with a client and get some really, really good retainable, sustainable results, as opposed to just flogging them with an inch of their life. So if you're running a boot camp and you've got a lot of overweight people that are starting off, especially 30s and 40s and 50s, then you want to look at scaling back the impact. You can still get a lot of high cardio. Like if you do a high knee run, that's far less impacty than actually running, because most of them aren't going to do the running aspect anyway. They can do like a high knee march. And if you do a mountain climber, it's quite difficult to get down to the ground if you're a bit bigger. So mountain climbers up against a bench or a wall, heaps easier. One of my favorites for intensity is, now let's say we've got someone at moderate level and they can actually do a burpee. So beginners, definitely not. But at some of the moderate level, this is the challenge I put to people when they're first learning this. If you do a burpee with a push-up, the slowest part of that burpee is going to be the push-up. Now, if you're really good at push-ups, cool, you might bang out a few, but you do burpees for a minute, flat out, and go as fast as you can. Now, if your fitness is pretty good, the push-ups are still going to be the part that slow you down. Now, what is fitness and intensity again? You want to increase the fitness of someone, you've got to increase the intensity. Cardio is all about intensity and peaking. So if your burpee is continually slowing down because of the push-up, then you're continually slowing down the intensity. Try this. If you're working on burpees and you want to include push-ups and you're doing it for some specific reason, great, keep at it. But if you're just doing it for cardio, try taking out the push-up. Now, I challenge you to do a minute with burpees with a push-up, see how you go. You'll find that your muscles will give first and the push-up is what's going to slow you down. Now, you take out that push-up, you can do this all day long now, but that burpee will get real hard because you'll really struggle to keep up with your breathing. So that intensity is going to peak up a lot. So by modifying the exercise, we've found that you can massively increase the cardio output, which is going to massively increase the result. Remember, it's all about prescribing to the client what they need to get their result. So that's one of the things that we do. We like to really break it down with our clients and find out, what's the purpose of how you're trying to train your client, what you're trying to achieve with them. If their goal is to get fitter and lose weight, well, the weight loss side of things is largely tackled by nutrition. That's going to fix the way they look and the way they feel. But if you're looking at the fitness side of stuff, running is just not a great way to do it. By all means, put a little bit of running, but when you look at most people, they don't like running. And if they do, they can only do short distances. Remember, if you're trying to increase their fitness, a long, slow jog is not going to do that because there's no intensity. So I want to keep it short, 20 meters, 50 meters, 100 meters max. Even 100 meters is long for some people. Look at me, 100 meters is me. It's a bit of a marathon. Not going to lie, don't like running. If you can stop running and just walk now, we can always run again later with the client. But you want to sort of break it down with them, emphasize like the feels of feeling like they're failing. They're probably struggling around the fact that everyone else is running and I feel like I can't keep up. So break it down for them really, really simply and go, well, everyone else has been doing it for a lot longer than you have. Everyone else is in a different position you are. Everyone else is just not you. So why did you start in the first place? Break that down for the client. When you feel like you're failing, what are you actually failing? They go, I don't know if I can keep up with the class. I'm holding the class back. It's like, well, I always make the point that when the slow guy takes a little bit longer, the fit guys have to do double as much. I want them to work harder. I want them doing more work. You're actually helping them get fitter as well. So you're actually a key part of the class. Keeping the group together. If you've got all of your fit guys waiting at the finish line for your slower guy, that doesn't always feel so good for them. But look at why they're feeling like they're failing and align with them if you can. Break it down. Really identify why they started and what their actual goals are. Is their goal fitness? Is their goal weight loss? If it's a fitness goal, is there any specificity to it? So then you can re-educate on the basis of what you need. So do they need to be focused on their diet? Do they need to be focused on increasing their cardio output? Do they need to be focused on their intensity of exercise? Or do they need to focus on their endurance of their exercise? And once you know what their fitness goal is, you can start looking, okay, well, these are the elements that actually matter. And you can start building their routine around the elements that actually matter. So if they want to work more on their endurance, then running slow and jogging is probably okay. If they want to focus on their fitness side of things, then they need peaks, they need sprints, they need intervals. If they're not a good runner, then there's better methods out there, yeah? That's what you can do is start to highlight better ways. If they're so used to running, most of my clients are super grateful and super happy when they find out, oh, I don't have to run again. I can still get fit. It's like, yeah, there's so many other ways to do this. We've got our circuit classes, our HIIT classes. We've got boxing. We've got so many different ways to get fit without actually having to run. And even in the classes where we have running, we just give them options. If you don't run, don't run. It's simple. And once they know that they're comfortable doing that, and they're comfortable doing options, and if you've got multiple people in the class taking other options, they'll feel a lot more comfortable about it too, yeah? Highlight a path forward. This is the big one. So if your client knows that they're getting an alternative, they'll feel a little bit down about it initially. But once they realize you can explain to them that, well, doing it like this is going to give you the same result, but take away all of the problems and all the pain that you've been feeling so far with the previous efforts, like trying to run in the high impact, then you're going to get a much better result from these clients because they're going to be far more engaged and far more encouraged about it because they're now focused on what they'll get out of it rather than what they can't do. That makes sense. And then, at that point, now they know what they're trying to do. They understand a bit more about how to achieve it. They understand that you're capable. This is really important, that you're capable of actually giving them a solution that works around their problem. Now they're feeling a lot more trusting in you and you're building up a lot more your authority. At this point, now you can re-engage their motivation and get a lot more output out of them as well. And by just taking that time to break it down for them, you're going to get a huge benefit from your clients. And if you've got a huge benefit for your clients, you're getting a huge sort of result for them and a huge change in them, then that's going to be transcribed into a huge for your business as well. If all of your clients are getting this experience, they're all going to tell their friends. They're all going to talk about you a lot better, a lot more favorably. And when new people come in, you've got to assume that when new people come into your group, all the old people talk to them, make them feel welcome and tell them all about it. What are they telling them? Are they telling them how much you've helped them or are they telling them how much you don't? So, that's sort of a bit about how we do it. There's lots of ways you can run this out. And I guess there's a couple of key elements and places that you can really make a huge difference in this. As a trainer, it's all about asserting your authority in the fitness industry and making sure that the client understands that you are actually the solution to their problem and you're an authority. They trust you. So, initially when they sign up, that's the first sort of bite of the cherry. That's normally when you talk a lot about their whys and their goals. And if you're not, you should be. It's a whole different video on that sort of stuff. But as I said earlier on in the conversation, one of my key questions is, what sort of things have you tried in the past? Keep it real casual, real comfortable, just a conversational question. And they'll normally tell you all about what they've done in the past. I like to ask first, what do you enjoy about it most? Because they'll normally tell me the good bits they liked. And once I know what they like, I can tell which things that we do that I can start recommending to them. But after someone's told me what they like, they're more likely to tell me what they didn't like. And that's the key here. When they start telling me what they didn't like about their previous efforts, then I can start to find out where the problems lie and how I can better help them. And if you're looking at fitness goals and you're working with clients who maybe have some injuries, this is where that stuff comes out. And once you've got that information, then you can start to sort of really prescribe some solutions that are really going to tie into what they want, which is going to build the authority with you as well. That's a really good way to do that in the sign-up phase. It's a really good time to get that information there. In the training phase, so when you're sort of during a class or during a session with a client, normally when people have problems running, I sort of ask them which part of the running hurts. And they go, My back hurts. Okay, cool. So I know it's the impact then. They've probably got a weak core, in which case I can't fix that with sit-ups. I can't fix that with posture. I have to fix that through other sorts of training. So I normally just scale straight back. But if I say my ankle hurts, okay, well, let's look at your ankle. Maybe it's their shoes, maybe it's their running movement. But end of the day, if you're in the middle of a class, you don't really have the time to correct them right then and there. It's a good opportunity to recommend yourself to work with them one-on-one. Another way you can improve your business. But some simple questions here. Okay, what part of the movement hurts? So, it hurts when I run. Great. There's a lot of pieces happening when they run. So which part of the body hurts? During which part of the run? Is it when the foot first strikes the ground, or is it when they're pushing off? If they're doing like another exercise, like a dumbbell exercise, like a shoulder press, I say, okay, does it hurt pushing up or on the way down? Or, no, it just hurts when I pick the weight up. Okay, so that's a different part of the movement. So we're asking about specifics of the range of movement and what they're doing to find out where the pain's coming on. And that way we can start looking, okay, well, if this part of the range of movement hurts, and it's a cardio-based exercise, can I remove that part of the range of motion and still get cardio? If not, I might need to go for a different exercise. But a good example here, once again, is that burpee. If I remove the push-up, people's shoulders hurt during push-ups. People struggle with push-ups. We're losing all of our intensity through that really, really slow, difficult push-up. Remove the push-up. It's a cardio exercise. We just want the cardio element. Let's just do the bit that actually creates the cardio. Take it out for the client, because for them, it makes no difference. They'd be far better off doing that modified burpee and then doing push-ups on the side later on. But whatever you do, change the movement to get the result you were looking for, yeah? So if someone doesn't like running, I could say, well, can you walk fast? Oh, yeah, I can do that. Maybe that's not enough. Maybe I need to give them a bike. Maybe it's a high knee run. Whatever I need to do, I need to give them something else that matches the intensity of everyone else, but accounts for their injury. Yeah. And then you've got your coaching phase. So your coaching phase is typically not in a class. After someone signs up, they're working with you as a coach. You typically have a lot of back and forth communication with them. This is where you can really ask those deep questions. Why do you feel you need to run? And I like this question when people tell me they hurt when they run. So it's normally my first go-to question when someone says, oh, I want to be able to run, but it hurts. And why do you need to run? Like, they'll not let them talk to you, ask a few questions. You'll normally find that the reason they need to run is because they think they need to run. Unless they're training for an event. Like, are you training for an event, marathon? Do you want to do a trail run? Something like, oh, that'd be nice. But often it's not really the driving force. So there's no real need to run outside of what they've decided they need. They've set their own expectation. Typically, they've Googled it or someone else has told them running is a great way to lose weight. Not always the best case, yeah? So why do you need to run? Really dig in with that with the client there. If they don't need to run, what's their goal? Once again, like, what are they trying to achieve? They say, oh, I want to get fitter. Cool. So what does fitness look like to you? What would make you happy if you were fit? Where would you be happy? Another good one is, if you were fit enough that you were happy with your fitness, what would that now allow you to be able to do? Really powerful question, because it helps the client take their very generic fitness goal. Because I always say that fitness goals like weight loss, fitness, and strength, they're not fitness goals. They're fitness concepts. They're directions, but they're not goals. They're not attainable because they're not specific enough. But saying, oh, I'd like to be able to run a marathon or run 5Ks in under half an hour, like, they're just random goals. Unless they're actually specific goals and they're a runner, they're normally random goals that people throw out. I'd like to be able to walk Castle Hill or a mountain. They're all things that people throw out randomly. What would it let you do? And this is where the client will start telling you about things in their personal life that they struggle with now, but they wish they could do. And this is where things like, oh, I'd like to be able to run around with the kids. Or probably one of the most memorable stories I had, this one was a lady who had 3 kids and all of her boys played football. They're all young, so 6, 8, and 9, that sort of age. And where she really noticed her fitness was during her son's football game. She had the honor of being the water boy, basically. So for a lot of these junior games, that's a big part. You're part of the game. It's an important role. You get to run out and see the kids, and it's one of those roles. It's really good to be part of it. But she did that the first time and ran out, and by the time she got back off the field, the game was already down the other end of the field. She felt like it just took her so long to get off the field that she was actually really embarrassed about it. And it was something so small that had triggered this massive change in her. That little thing, she wanted to be able to run out and just run the water out to her boys' footy game, was something that really hit home with me and really just stuck in my mind for a very, very long time, as those fitness goals are typically the small everyday things that we really just, they're important to us, but they're not necessarily big things. Running a marathon is not very important to most people, but running out to your kid's footy game, that hits a bit more home. So if you really know why the client wants to get that fitness up and what they want to be able to do, you can start to break this right back down now. So I didn't need to teach her how to run. I didn't need to do that. The goal for this lady was simply to increase her fitness a little bit more coordination with running, just so she felt like she was comfortable doing it, and some weight loss so that it was a little bit easier, less stress on the body. When we broke that right down, there was no real need for her to do a lot of running. It was really just about improving her fitness. And once that was broken down, she was like, oh, this seems like such an easier task now because I'm not having to do things that I really don't like doing, which for her was the running aspect. Cool. So, guys, that's all we've got time for today. I hope that really helps with you guys. As I said, running sucks. Unless you actually really, really love running, for most of us, running is just not a great exercise. Saying that, if you are a good runner and you do like running, by all means run. A lot of people do run for mental health, and that's a great way to run. It's a great reason to run. However, if you don't enjoy running, there are better ways to do that sort of stuff. And when it comes to weight loss, and it comes to running boot camps, and it comes to being a PT, running is a great tool, but it's not the only tool. There are much better options out there, especially for most of your clients who really just don't like running. Pushing through the pain, typically not a thing that's very beneficial for your client. All right, guys, if you've got any questions, please throw them in the comments, or you can always reach out via our Facebook group if you haven't joined on it. It's Simplified Fitness Business. Don't forget to hit like and share. And as always, guys, have an awesome day. If you've got any questions, let me know. We will see you on the next episode. See ya.